possibility that the superseding indictment actually could be something down in Florida at Doral or Jupiter.
It could be. It could also be lies in testimony or interviews that people gave within Florida about events far outside Florida. So imagine, if you will, that in interviews or, again, grand jury testimony, folks said, no, I never moved a box from Mar-a-Lago to Doral. No, I had nothing to do with the movement of boxes to Jupiter. No, I have no reason to believe boxes were moved to Bedminster. All of those things, if DOJ can prove otherwise, could be the basis of false statement charges. There's already one false statement charge in the existing indictment against Walt Nauta. There could be more to come.
The other reason I want to talk about Doral is because if you are a golf fan, then you know that the Saudi golf organization Live Golf is hosting big tournaments at Doral. And I believe that one of these Doral tournaments from Live Golf, the Saudi-backed professional golf venture, took place in the fall of 2022. Which is in and around the time frame that that Mar-a-Lago is being searched, documents are being moved. Am I wrong to be curious about, we know also, sorry, key point here, the New York Times reported earlier this year that one of the previously unreported subpoenas to the Trump organization sought records pertaining to Mr. Trump's dealings with a Saudi-backed professional golf venture known as Live Golf, which is holding tournaments at some of Mr. Trump's golf resorts. So prosecutors are interested in the relationship between Trump and the Saudi-backed golf organization. There are maybe documents at Doral, and the Saudi-backed golf organization is having events at Doral. I'm connecting dots. Should I not be?
It's not clear, I think, at this point. One thing that I think is clear, though, is that the president's properties are historically insecure. We know from history that Mar-a-Lago has been infiltrated by lots of people, everyone from normal club members to folks just randomly having dinner to folks who have been caught on the property with no business there at all. Certainly, if classified documents are hanging out at a property where they are hosting a public golf tournament, let alone one that's backed by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, that's yet another
That would be
indicator.
a red flag.
Correct.
That would be something you'd want to follow up on. Okay, fair enough. We had this breaking news happen like literally an hour and a half ago. The other breaking news today was the reporting initially from ABC, which was first to report that the DOJ sent a target letter to a Trump staffer down at Mar-a-Lago about his handling of security footage down at the beach club. Can you talk to me about what a target letter signifies and what conclusions you're drawing from this?
Target letter is as close to a warning or indicator as it gets before an indictment that your client is, in fact, very much within the crosshairs of DOJ and is likely to be indicted. It usually goes to the person's counsel. It also serves as a warning. Hey, if you've got a target letter, you can voluntarily come in, but we're letting you know that you're a target so that if we make an invitation to you, you don't come in and give self-incriminating testimony, right? That's really one of the purposes of sending the target letter. I think we now know that this person, who's unnamed in the ABC reports but is represented by Walt Nauta's counsel, Stanley Woodward, is a person who is likely to be indicted. And that makes sense for this reason. When the Department of Justice does additional interviews after an indictment, it can't be in support of the existing charges. That's a big no-no. It has to be in support of either superseding charges or another indictment. So to the extent that the department is saying yesterday, hey, Trump and Nauta, we're about to turn over to you transcripts of interviews that we've conducted between mid-May and mid-June, that's in service of something larger than the indictment that we already know about.
Interesting. I personally, I did not realize, as I've said many times, I did not go to law school, but it did not occur to me that Jack Smith, and we knew that he was still investigating. We knew they were still subpoenaing people. But the fact that he is still looking at, focused on the sort of wheels in the machine, the cogs in the machine, the lower level staffers who were party to allegedly Trump's plot to hide these classified documents is interesting to me and a testament to the special counsel's tenacity in all this, given the fact that they've already indicted the president and his co-conspirator, Walt Nauta, and they got a big January 6th indictment that may be coming down the pike in, the next 10 business days. Do you find that evidence of anything remarkably aggressive in the DOJ's wheelhouse?
I think it's different than the way that DOJ typically conducts business. Oftentimes, the DOJ will either indict or seek a plea deal first against lower-level offenders in an attempt to flip those people, and then they'll bring charges against the kingpin. Here, DOJ seems to be adopting an opposite approach. We're going to indict Trump and only one other person, and we are almost going to open our kimono and show you through this very detailed speaking indictment all the things we know. We're going to show you what we know from people's texts. We're going to show you what we know from surveillance footage. We're going to show you what we know from testimony. It's really an impressive compendium of their investigation. Then they go out and send things like this target letter that indicates to someone, there's something for me to be scared about. Now is the opportunity for me to flip. That also might be an indication of how they're going to go about their January 6th investigation.
Well, that was my next question is, does that give you a sense of the roadmap that they go for Trump? They're actually starting the top of the pyramid and then working their way down? Because we know that the special counsel's office has been talking to secretaries of state across the country. That was breaking news this morning. Do you think that they're going to be pursuing their targets in the same way, which is to say Donald Trump in the next 10 days, but then the investigation into January 6th continues with potential indictments through the fall?
You know, I won't be as confident to say the next 10 days, but I do think that the way that they've gone about this could be a signal of what they're going to do when we do see a January 6th indictment. And I am increasingly confident that we will see one, Alex.
Okay. I mean, our secret weapon, not our secret weapon, America.